Every summer, thousands of car owners walk into repair shops blindsided by a bill they never saw coming. Their AC compressor is dead, not worn out from age, not a factory defect, destroyed. And when the mechanic cracks it open and shows them what killed it, it is always the same story. A habit, something so common, so harmless looking, that the owner had been doing it every single day without a second thought. Some of them had been doing it for years. But here is what nobody tells you. That habit does not work alone. It is the last domino in a chain of 9 everyday mistakes that quietly destroy your AC system from the inside, long before you ever feel warm air from the vents. By the end, you will understand exactly how a $12 part you have never thought about connects directly to a $2,000 repair bill. You will also see why mechanics find this exact pattern over and over, and why most of these compressors did not have to die. But first, one thing about your AC that changes everything. Your compressor does not just pump refrigerant. It pumps a specialized lubricant called PAG oil that travels with the refrigerant to coat every bearing, valve plate, and seal inside the compressor. And PAG oil has a fatal weakness. It absorbs moisture from the air. Every habit on this list either starves the compressor of that oil, overheats it into a corrosive acid, or opens the door for moisture to attack the system from the inside. All right. Let us get into it. Habit number 9, and this is the one most people have never even heard of. When was the last time you changed your cabin air filter? If you had to think about it, you are not alone. Most car owners forget this filter even exists. It is a $12 part, and it protects a $1,200 compressor. That little filter, usually tucked behind your glove box or under the dash, catches dust, pollen, leaves, dead bugs, soot, and everything else floating in the air before it reaches your HVAC system. When that filter clogs, airflow across the evaporator drops. The evaporator needs steady airflow to absorb cabin heat. Without it, it gets too cold. Ice forms on the coils. Pressure behavior changes, and the compressor cycles erratically. Over time, that wears down the clutch. Some people remove the filter entirely, thinking it improves airflow. Technically, yes, but now dust and debris land directly on the evaporator. That trapped debris holds moisture against the coils and creates the perfect environment for mold. That is where those musty smells come from. Replace it every 10 to 15,000 miles or about once a year. Pull it out, hold it up to a light. Nearly opaque means past due. Pay attention to the airflow direction arrow when installing the new one. When the AC runs, moisture condenses on the evaporator coils. Normal, but when you shut the car off, that moisture sits in a warm, dark, enclosed space. Breeding ground for mold. Simple fix, about a mile before your destination. Turn off the AC compressor, but leave the fan running on fresh air mode. This dries the condensation before you park. Also make sure the condensate drain tube is clear. If it is clogged, water pools in the housing and mold gets much worse. And here is something a lot of people miss. If your fan only works on the highest speed and the lower settings are dead, that is usually a failed blower motor resistor. The highest speed bypasses the resistor, which is why it still works. Grinding or rumbling that changes with fan speed could be debris or even a mouse nest in the blower housing. A lot of people blame the compressor for problems caused by a $5 resistor or a dirty blower fan, and that is just the beginning. Because habit number 8 pushes your entire AC system into a thermal danger zone, and millions of people do it every single day. 1 hour of idling with the AC on puts roughly the same wear on your engine and AC system as driving 30 to 60 miles. Think about that. The reason comes down to one thing: airflow. When you are driving, air rushes through the condenser and radiator and carries away heat. They sit right next to each other and share the same airflow. When one struggles, both suffer. At idle, that natural airflow disappears. The condenser depends entirely on electric cooling fans. If those fans are weak, a relay is failing, or the condenser is partially blocked, heat just builds up. High side pressures climb. The compressor works harder. Compressor oil temperatures rise and degrade the oil. The compressor cycles more frequently. That extra cycling stresses the clutch. Engine oil deteriorates faster. The alternator fights to keep up, and carbon monoxide can reach the cabin if you are idling in an enclosed space. Never idle in a garage. Limit continuous idling to about 30 minutes. If you are getting into a hot car, do not sit at idle and blast the AC. Open the windows, let the hot air escape, start driving. Keep an eye on your temperature gauge and listen for the cooling fans. It is the neglected cars that overheat and fail at idle. Keep that thermal stress in mind, because habit number 7 is one that almost every car owner in cold climates is guilty of, and it sets the stage for failure before summer even arrives. This one seems counterintuitive. Why would you run your AC in winter? You do not need cooling. So the AC sits unused from October through April. Here is what happens during those months. PAG oil settles to the lowest points and pools there. Bearings sit dry. No oil film protecting them. Seals throughout the system slowly dry out. They stay flexible when regularly bathed in oil and refrigerant. Without that contact, they shrink, harden, or develop tiny cracks. Those cracks become leak paths, and you will not know until the first hot day when your AC blows warm or quits after a few minutes. The fix takes zero effort. Run your AC for a few minutes once every week or two during colder months. A short run circulates oil, keeps seals lubricated, and lets you catch problems early. Most vehicles engage the compressor automatically in defrost mode, so you might already be doing this without knowing. Bonus: AC dehumidifies cabin air, which is why it clears your windshield faster when defrosting. Everything we have covered so far does its damage slowly, over weeks, over months. But habit number 6 stacks stress on your compressor every single time you get into a hot car, and almost everyone does it wrong. Picture this. Your car has been parked in direct sun for hours. You open the door and a wall of heat hits you. Steering wheel too hot to touch. You jump in, crank the AC to max, close the windows, and sit there waiting. The air inside can be dramatically hotter than outside. You are asking the compressor to fight that massive thermal load all at once. High side pressures spike, and the system runs at max capacity from the start. One time, your car can handle it, but day after day, summer after summer, especially if your charge is a little low or your condenser is dirty, you are stacking stress on components already near their limits. The smarter approach takes 60 seconds. Open the windows and start driving. Or turn the fan on high with windows cracked. Purge the superheated air first. Then close up, switch to recirculation. Turn the AC to max. The compressor works against a much smaller temperature gap and reaches target faster. For EVs and hybrids, this matters even more because heavy compressor draw eats into range. Quick note on recirculation mode. Great for cooling because the system recycles already cool air instead of fighting hot outside air. But leave it on too long and humidity builds up. Toggle back to fresh air every 15 to 45 minutes on longer drives. If you have been keeping track, you have noticed a pattern. Every habit so far works indirectly. None of them directly attack the compressor. Habit number 5 does. And honestly, this frustrates me more than almost anything else on this list because the fix is often completely free, and yet it causes more misdiagnosed compressor replacements than almost any other problem. Your condenser sits at the very front of your car. Its job is to dump heat from compressed refrigerant into the outside air. If it cannot reject heat fast enough, everything upstream backs up. Think about where it sits. First thing that catches air when you drive. Also, the first thing that catches bugs, leaves, road grime, salt spray, cottonwood seeds, plastic bags. Over time, debris builds up between the fins and forms an insulating layer. Bent fins from rock impacts make it worse, and because it is sandwiched against the radiator, you often cannot see how dirty it is without getting underneath. Here is what happens when it gets clogged. At highway speed, air pushes past most debris. Cold air comes out. Everything seems fine. But then you stop at a light or sit in traffic and the vents turn warm. Start driving again and cold air comes back. Sound familiar? I have seen shops charge over $1,000 for a compressor replacement when the real problem was a clogged condenser fixable with a garden hose. One truck owner had his AC cut out at every stoplight. Shop added refrigerant. Problem came back. They suggested a new compressor. Instead, the owner crawled under the bumper and found the condenser packed with cottonwood seeds and dead bugs. Cleaned it, straightened bent fins with a fin comb, problem vanished. 5 minutes saved him $800. Another sedan had the compressor replaced. Failed within months. Nobody cleaned the condenser or replaced the failing fan relay. The new compressor went right back into the same hostile environment that killed the first one. Check condenser, clean it with low-pressure water, straighten bent fins, and make sure the fans are spinning when the AC is on. If they are not, a corroded fan relay that costs a few dollars might be your entire problem. When the condenser cannot reject heat, oil temperatures climb. PAG oil breaks down into acid that eats away at seals and bearing surfaces from the inside. A dirty condenser is not just reducing efficiency, it is actively destroying your compressor's internals. Everything we have covered so far causes damage through neglect. Habit number 4 is different. This one is a sin of action, something car owners actively reach for because it seems like a quick, cheap fix, and it often turns a small problem into complete system contamination. If you have ever walked into an auto parts store because your AC was blowing warm, you have seen them. Those cans of AC recharge refrigerant with stop leak mixed in. $20, 10 minutes, cold air restored. Sounds like a bargain. Here is what actually happens. Stop leak chemicals do not know the difference between a leak and a normal internal passage. Your orifice tube or expansion valve has tiny passages sized to control refrigerant flow. Stop leak clogs them just as easily as it clogs a leak. When the expansion device gets blocked, refrigerant flow becomes restricted. The safety switch shuts off the compressor. Pressures equalize, it kicks back on, then shuts off again. This rapid cycling hammers the clutch coil and starves the bearings. The owner ends up with an AC that clicks, chatters, and barely cools. It gets worse. Stop leak can saturate the desiccant in your accumulator. Once that happens, moisture stays in the system and forms corrosive acids. Condenser tubes can get blocked internally too, and unlike external fouling, you cannot fix that with a hose. What started as a small leak fixable with an O-ring now becomes a multi-component replacement. New expansion device, new accumulator, possibly new condenser, full system flushing. A $20 fix turned into a bill many times that. Some shops flat out refuse to work on systems treated with stop leak. The right way to service an AC system is fundamentally different. Recover the existing refrigerant, evacuate with a vacuum pump, pull a deep vacuum and hold it to verify no leaks. Then charge fresh refrigerant by weight using calibrated scales. Gauges show pressure. Weight is what actually matters. That is why manufacturers specify charge in grams or ounces, not PSI. And if you think contaminating your own AC system sounds bad, wait. Because habit number 3 is about recognizing when your compressor is already dying, and why ignoring the signs turns a fixable problem into a financial disaster. Honestly, this is the part that breaks my heart. Your compressor almost always tells you it is dying before it actually dies. Sounds, symptoms, behavior, changes that, if caught early, save you from catastrophe. But most people either do not know what to listen for, or they hear something off and just turn up the radio. To understand these warnings, you need to know how your compressor works. Most cars use a clutch type. An electromagnetic coil pulls a clutch plate against the pulley, and the compressor starts spinning. When target temperature or pressure is reached, it clicks off. That cycling is controlled by thermostats, pressure switches, and the car's computer. There is also a combination type that uses a clutch for engagement, but varies displacement for finer control. No matter which type, inside are precision parts. Bearings, pistons, valve plates, and front shaft seals that all need continuous oil. Those front shaft seals handle high pressure and constant temperature swings, which is why they are one of the most common leak points. The most dangerous warning is short cycling. The compressor clicks on and off rapidly, sometimes every second or two. Clicking or chattering under the hood, bursts of cool air followed by warm. Short cycling is a death sentence. Each startup draws high inrush current. When that happens every few seconds instead of once a minute, the clutch coil overheats and burns out. Simultaneously, the compressor never runs long enough to circulate oil. Bearings run dry. Something seizes. 2 kill paths at once. Not all cycling is bad though. Normal patterns vary. Some sedans cycle on for 15 to 20 seconds and off for a few. Some European cars cycle every 6 to 10 seconds. The red flag is very rapid cycling, where off periods are only a second or two, or where you feel engine shaking, pronounced temperature swings, or vibrations. The most common cause is low refrigerant from a leak. The safety system cycles the compressor to protect it, but keep running the AC and the cycling destroys the clutch and starves the bearings anyway. Other causes include clogged orifice tubes, stuck expansion valves, saturated accumulators, electrical faults, or poor grounds. Short cycling is almost always a symptom of something else. Replacing the AC clutch without finding the root cause is one of the most expensive mistakes people make. A healthy AC makes a few distinct sounds. A click when the clutch engages, a steady hum. Condenser fans whirring, that is your baseline. Anything that deviates is worth investigating. Gurgling usually means trapped refrigerant bubbles, not serious. Squealing points to a worn belt or tensioner. Knocking or rattling can mean loose hardware, failing bearings, or internal wear. Grinding that changes with blower speed is probably debris in the cabin air unit, not the compressor. A mechanic's stethoscope or a long screwdriver pressed against different components with your ear on the handle can isolate the source. If you hear a chirp when the AC kicks on, spray water on the serpentine belt. If the noise changes, belt problem, not compressor. A lot of sounds people blame on the compressor come from somewhere else. One car had vibration when the AC ran. Turned out to be worn motor mounts. Another had rumbling after shutdown. Cooling fan with bent blades. One truck had banging every time the compressor engaged. Multiple parts were replaced before anyone found the real cause. Too much PAG oil. Correcting the oil volume eliminated the noise entirely. There is also a common pattern where AC blows cold, then turns warm. Could be a pressure switch, internal compressor wear, an intermittent relay, or low charge triggering the safety cutout. Check if the AC clutch is spinning. Measure voltage at the clutch connector. No 12 volts means the problem is upstream. Relay, fuse, wiring, or pressure switch. Replacing the compressor would be a waste. If voltage is there but the AC clutch will not engage, check coil resistance. Healthy coil reads 2 to 5 ohms. You can also rotate the compressor shaft by hand with the engine off and belt removed. Rough, gritty, or locked means seized. Check the clutch plate for wear and the pulley for wobble. If a service reveals metallic glitter in the oil, that is the compressor breaking apart from the inside. We have arrived at the final two, and these are the ones that scare me. Every habit before this was a slow burn. These two can destroy a compressor in weeks. Habit number 2, overcharging, putting in too much refrigerant. The logic traps people every time. A sea is not as cold as it used to be, so they grab a can and start adding. What most people do not realize is that their AC system operates within an extremely narrow charge window. Total capacity is around 24 to 32 ounces. Tolerance is often plus or minus half an ounce. A few extra ounces pushes the system past its design limits. Your compressor is designed to compress vapor. When you overcharge, liquid refrigerant makes it back to the compressor inlet. This is slugging. Liquids cannot be compressed. The hydraulic force can crack reed valves, bend piston rods, blow gaskets, and shatter valve plates. You might hear thumps at startup or knocking. Those are warnings. Even before slugging, overcharging raises temperatures that break down compressor oil into acid. Seals erode. The clutch works harder. The belt is under more tension. Everything runs in its stress zone because of a few extra ounces. More refrigerant is not better. More is actively destructive. And now we have reached it. Habit number 1. The single most destructive mistake on this entire list. The one that ties everything together. Running your AC system on low refrigerant, and especially continuing to run it after you already know it is low. This is the one. The habit that kills more compressors than anything else, and it does so through a failure mechanism so thorough, so irreversible, that technicians have a name for it. Black Death. Your system develops a leak, maybe a worn O-ring, a corroded Schrader valve, a hairline crack in a condenser tube. Refrigerant starts escaping, and because refrigerant is a gas, there is no puddle, no drip. It just disappears. Think back to the beginning of this video. Refrigerant carries oil. When refrigerant leaks out, oil goes with it. The compressor runs with less and less lubrication while working harder because cooling capacity is dropping, working overtime while being starved of the only thing protecting it. At first, you might not notice. The AC still blows cold. Maybe not quite as cold, but close enough. Then, it gets weaker. Takes longer to cool the cabin. Eventually, warm air at idle, but cold when driving. This is the system crying for help. But people shrug it off. Add a can. Problem goes away, comes back. Another can. Every cycle makes it worse. Metal surfaces make contact without lubrication. Friction climbs. Temperatures spike. Tiny particles of aluminum, steel, and bronze flake off into the refrigerant stream and embed everywhere. Meanwhile, heat breaks down the remaining oil into corrosive acids that attack seals. More leaks form. Refrigerant loss accelerates. The compressor starves even faster. The feedback loop. Less refrigerant means less oil. Less oil means more friction. More friction means higher temperatures. Higher temperatures mean faster oil breakdown. More acid. More seal damage. Faster refrigerant loss. And the cycle accelerates. Moisture makes it worse. When refrigerant leaks out, air gets in. Air carries moisture. Moisture reacts with PAG oil to form hydrofluoric acid, one of the most corrosive substances you will encounter in a car. It attacks metal from the inside and forms sludge that contaminates every component. The end stage is what technicians find when they crack open a destroyed system. Internals coated in thick, black, gritty sludge, decomposed oil, metallic particles, hardened deposits that look like tar. Condenser blocked, expansion device clogged, desiccant saturated. This is Black Death. Replacing just the compressor is pointless because every component is a contamination source. Full repair means new compressor, full system flush, new condenser, new expansion device, new accumulator, every O-ring replaced, vacuum tested, charged by weight, $2,000 or more, all because of a $20 O-ring. The signs were there the entire time. If that driver had fixed the original leak when it first appeared, $100 to $200. By the time they noticed, $2,000. If your compressor failed, demand a full system flush. Reusing parts is why new compressors die within months. The replacement was not defective. The system was toxic. These 9 habits are one interconnected chain. Clogged filters, idling heat, and low refrigerant all end exactly the same way. A compressor running hot and starved until it breaks. Every fix here costs less than a tank of gas. Change the filter. Limit idling. Run the AC in winter. Clean the condenser. Never use stop leak. Your compressor was built to outlast your car. Most failures are not defects. They are conditions we create. Change the habits. Change the outcome. But your AC is just one system. There are 18 everyday driving habits quietly destroying your engine and transmission right now. Watch this video next. I will see you there.